Okay, like we can start. It's already 1:05. So good afternoon to all of you. I'm Donald Villanueva, an assistant scientist of the Social Sciences Division, and I'm your moderator for today's seminar. Our speaker is an associate scientist of Social Sciences Division who is currently working under Dr. Sonia Akhtar in developing concept notes which incorporates gender dimension in relations to climate change. Her field of specialization is village dynamics or analysis. She joined IRRI as a researcher on December 15, 1986. It was 4 days after her 24th birthday. In 1996, she was promoted as an assistant scientist, and in 2008, became an associate scientist. She previously worked with Doctors Delma Paris, and she was involved in socio-economic research projects in India. Within the last 5 years, she was involved in different projects such as Gender, Agriculture, and Assets Program, or GAP, a collaborative project with IFRI, Serial Initiative in South Asia, or CISA, a joint supervision with Dr. Valverde, and impact of labor saving technologies, particularly the combined harvester and thresher machine, together with myself in data analysis. She completed her master's degree in agricultural economics in 1995 in UPLB, where she also finished her bachelor degree in agriculture, major in agriculture economics in 1984. After graduation of her bachelor degree, she worked as a researcher for almost 3 years in the College of Economics and Management in UPLB from 1984 to 1986 before finally joining IRRI. Our speaker is the youngest among 10 siblings and was born in Gabaldon, Nueva Ecija. Indeed, she is an Ilocana. However, she is now an adopted daughter of Los Baños since she is living here for about 47 years. She loves dancing, singing, and watching Pinoy teleseries at night. According to her, working in IRRI gives her an opportunity to meet and work with people from different cultures and personalities, which enhance her personality in terms of being optimistic in any situation she is in. As part of her job in IRRI, she did lots of travel not only within the Philippines, but also to other Asian countries, the Netherlands, Australia, and lately Africa, where she felt the breeze of Atlantic Ocean and saw the amazing animals at safari in Nairobi. This afternoon, this young lady will present one of her previous projects entitled Assessing the Effects of Mechanical Paddy Transplanter on Agricultural Workers in Selected Villages in Eastern Uttar Pradesh, India. Ladies and gentlemen, our young and gorgeous speaker, Miss Joyce Luis.
Okay, thank you, Donald. Yeah, good afternoon, colleagues and friends. Oh, I was really very nervous before this one, but after Donald's introduction to me, I really enjoyed it. But I was always counting how many times he mentioned so many years. Anyway, well, now I think that in the division seminar, SSD Division Seminar is not just a venue for sharing research works, but I think it also showcases, like what Donald did, ingenuity in introducing the speakers. Okay, thank you, Donald, and I really enjoyed it with quotations. Okay. with quotations because there were so many years actually. Okay, now for this afternoon, I will be sharing with you the research we did on assessing the effects of mechanical paddy transplanter on agricultural workers in selected villages of Eastern Uttar Pradesh. So this one, when we say agricultural workers, we include here the men and women who are doing these farm activities. We know that women play a very important role in farming communities, and in Eastern Uttar Pradesh, not only Eastern Uttar Pradesh but in India, it's like 60 to 80% of the farm activities there are contributed by women. There have been several studies documenting that men and women farmers perform specific activities in rice production, and most often they do this manually. Men and women do transplanting at the same time, but most of the transplanting is done by women. So this study would like to show what would happen if we change the method of transplanting from manual transplanting to adapting this mechanical paddy transplanter. So just to give you some background studies from the internet and other sources, we have seen that mechanization of agriculture had been way back. So mechanization had been realized from cultivation to harvesting. So these are just some examples of the literature, and later on I will go to some of the literatures here we had in IRRI. So we say that in China, they said that it's only in pesticide spraying where manual operation is being conducted. So it's not mechanized. And they say that the amount of work in rice field is reduced to 1/3 compared if you use the traditional method of transplanting or mechanized methods. It's not only transplanting. And then there is this proliferation of mechanization because of the manufacturing industries tend to develop more of this agricultural equipment. And there is this information technology which provides hardware support, such as the combine in Thailand, wherein this is already digitized. So it's not only in small computers, but information technology is also into these big farm machineries. Like I said before, this mechanization is not new in social science division. I know Lina would know that she'd been asked. It's my turn now to say something of people who have been here. She had been with the engineering division as a student assistant, and she had worked with most of the social scientists, economists who were in the engineering division. I remember, if you know Bart Duff, was this, the group of Bart Duff, they did this harvesting. They tried to introduce a harvester in one of the remote villages in the Philippines. I think it's in Bicol, if I'm not mistaken. And because this harvester displaced rice farmers, so this was sabotage. That was in the 1960s. Then from then on, there were several studies that were conducted to look at the social aspect of introducing mechanized agricultural machineries in rice farming. And the latest was with not only in farming but also post-harvest activities, because we know that most women are really involved in post-harvest activities in rice production. So post-harvest activities such as the rice mill. So this was introduced in several places here in the Philippines, as well as also in Bangladesh, where Lina did a study. And aside from the introduction of these machineries, small and big machineries in the farming villages, there are also like social implications, studies on social implications of the introduction of this machine. And there was this study by Paris and Pingali, wherein they found out that one of the signals why there is an adoption of machinery is because of the wage rate. So what's with the wage rate? If there is an increase in wage rate, it means that there would be an additional labor cost from the farmers, which would be more if as compared if they just adopt a machine. adopt a machine which is less costly and very and in a few days they will be able to finish that rice production activity. So machine replaces manual labor. Why? As I mentioned earlier, there was the higher rate and also the difficulty in hiring workers. For the case in India, machine will continue to replace due to high wage rate because there was this government initiative, MNREGA, wherein they pay the villagers like 120 rupees for a day's work, either non-farm or farm activities. So this gave some distortions in the village in terms of the wage rate for that particular activities. And for the difficulty in hiring workers, this is due to the migration of transplanters or farmers to other places and to do non-farm job which are less risky and or in farm jobs, but the farm would have a better facilities such as it's with irrigation, like in Punjab and from Bihar farmers, they would go to Punjab to work in the farm. So we can say that there will be transformation within the farming enterprise from labor intensive, as you see in the picture. This is labor intensive in transplanting. So in the village, if you go there during the peak season of transplanting, you would see men and women doing the transplanting. But when machine replaces it, then you can only see three people. I think I have a vector. So only three people, the operator, the one who would carry the seedling, the mat seedling, and another person who would place the mat seedling into the machine. Okay. For this research, the information on the adoption of mechanical paddy transplanter, which I'm currently sharing with you, the sources are the service provider, farmers with large farm size, farmers with medium, small, and marginal farm sizes. And we did this through key informant interview and farm household interview. But through the literature, there are entities or institutions that play also an important role in the spread of mechanical paddy transplanters, such as the agricultural machinery manufacturers, information technologies, private manufacturers, and government subsidy program, as well as the hired workers who are the beneficiary. The hired workers, such as also the operators of the mechanical paddy transplanter, hired workers who do gap filling. They do this gap filling because there's this problem with the use of the mechanical paddy transplanter. And the lower part, those three, are the direct beneficiaries of the machine. Why do we say direct beneficiaries of the machine? Because they are the ones who are being hired or are given the job to do, who are given job like gap filling and do also hand weeding. Okay. So the objectives of the study is to find out likely consequences of mechanical paddy transplanter on men's and women's labor and to draw implications from this research. So the methodology is we did a farm household survey and we did this last year. We started in August 2012 in CISA villages. So we had two CISA districts, the Maharajganj and Dioria. And these CISA villages, for Maharajganj in Pokarbina, the mechanical paddy transplanter was introduced to them in 2012. And this was introduced to a farmer with farm large. I think that's the business model of CISA, wherein they are trying to introduce machineries not to the small farmers but to large farmers. Of course, we know that they have some reasons why, because the large farmers have enough capital. Also, I think have enough capital to like if there's a need for a repair, so they have extra money for the repair of the machine. But in Dioria, we conducted the survey in Ushka, in 3 villages, Naunapar and Jigna. And this was, the mechanical paddy transplanter here was introduced in 2012. So we did a we employed a stratified random selection of users and non-users of MTP. So what we did was, our collaborator was to get the list of the names of who had been using the mechanical paddy transplanter in both districts. And from that, we said that we're going to get 30 users from both districts, so a total of 60. And the rest, the 60 will be the non-users. And of course, it will also be random sampling. So that's the target. And for the key informant interview, we had a service provider. The service provider is also the owner of a large farm size. So from the key informant, we had this one. We asked him some questions regarding comparing the manual and mechanical paddy transplanter in terms of the number of transplanters in the household. So from this table, which we also saw this from the farm household survey which we conducted, with the use of the mechanical paddy transplanter, we don't have any more family labor female adults. So they are not anymore involved. It's only the male adults. But before, there were 1 to 2 female family members who were engaged in transplanting. Transplanting costs, I think it's not so big, the difference. But what we can see is the area transplanted within a day. So from less than a hectare, then they could go as high as 3.5 hectares per day using the mechanical paddy transplanter. And in terms of the total number of laborers, the family exchanged and hired, there are like 16 workers doing the manual transplanting. But earlier, I showed you that I told you that only 3, but I don't know why it became 6. Sometimes maybe 6. Maybe the owner must also be there supervising the transplanters. The amount of seed did not vary much. So this is a picture showing you who are involved in using the mechanical paddy transplanter. So we have the operator, and then we have this guy is the one who placed the seedlings on the mat in place in the machine, and this one would be a person who would bring the seedlings to this machine. So this is the owner of the machine of the mechanical paddy transplanter in Dioria, and this one maybe he's just assisting or supervising the operator or looking if I think the problem here was that the gap filling, for the gap filling wherein it creates a gap. So I think this man would direct what would be the next distance of this mechanical paddy transplanter. Okay, so this table shows us that there is adoption and disadoption of mechanical paddy transplanters. So the users of the mechanical paddy transplanters was encouraged, all of them were encouraged by the CISA people. So they were encouraged to use this one because of CISA. And of course, there is this adoption because they use this mechanical paddy transplanter, and 98% of those we interviewed said that they have problems of labor shortage. But we can see from this table that only like 20% continue to use the machine. So despite the owner of the machine are staying both in Maharashtra and Dioria. So this table is showing us that we asked them, what year did you first use it? So 3 of them said in 2009. But when we asked them, what year did you last use it? It is also 2009. So it means that the one that used among the 3, it's only 1 who continued to use the mechanical paddy transplanter and so forth. And the Dioria, it was only introduced in 2012, so of course, the 30 respondents that we had there are currently users of the machine. So for Maharashtra, out of the 30, there are only 13, so 17 did not anymore continue the use of the machine. So these are the advantages and disadvantages that was mentioned to us by the current and past users. So the advantages, they said that it saves time, which I showed you a while ago, and saves labor costs. Literature shows that 789 rupees per hectare is paid when using the mechanical paddy transplanter, which is if we employ the manual transplanting is 1,662 rupees per hectare. Another advantage is that less amount of seed required, but I think the data did not show that, and saves money maybe because of the of time and labor. And they have also some agronomic advantages, which they said to us in terms of using the mechanical paddy transplanter, and that is more tillers of rice plant and higher yield. So the disadvantage, I had always been mentioning this one, creates large gap. I think 98% of the farmers, of the users mentioned that this is their problem. So there's also an increase in weed population. That's why we had lots of women who are hired to do hand weeding, if during for those who had adopted this mechanical paddy transplanter. And they said with a mechanical paddy transplanter, it requires also a proper land preparation. So it should be like with water. There's a minimum. They have to maintain that amount of water on the field, and more time in nursery preparation. This is more of, it's only 15 days to grow the seedlings in the nursery, but what they are referring to this more time in nursery preparation is they have to wait for the in the line in a queue. So like for example in Dioria or in Maharashtra, there is only one service provider. So all of the seedlings should be done in his field. So I remember the one we talked to in Dioria, he said that before he would cater to the others, of course, he would, because he is a large farm holders, so he needs so many seedlings. So he would first cater to his needs before allowing others to have their seedlings planted in his plot. Okay. And machines not available, maybe because it's just one. So accessible during transplanting season. And others say that they don't have training in the use of machine or the nursery preparation, which leads us to the, oh, this just a picture showing you, but I think it's not so clear, the gap filling that is being created by this machine. The gap, sorry. And we also asked them what is their perception of the use of mechanical paddy transplanter. And the user said that they think that only the medium and the large farmers would adopt the mechanical paddy transplanter and not so much for the small farm holders. And service providers said they think that service providers are not interested to invest due to the high cost of the machine. I think it's 8,000 to 10,000 rupees for that kind of machine. And it is underused because they use it only for 2 to 3 weeks. And the difficulty in preparing the seedbed. And another perception is that they say that the government will not push the use of the machine through subsidy program or even paying the private manufacturers. Of course, these are just their perception, but if we go out and ask these who are involved in the production of mechanical paddy transplanter, I think we can see if these are really true. So what are the constraints or assurance? So we look at the constraints versus the assurance to adoption of the mechanical paddy transplanter. Constraints to adoption: laborious nursery management, high wage in nursery laborers. So they also have, I think this one is being paid by the service provider. No training on nursery preparation, so it's still the service provider that have to train these laborers. Unavailable service provider, which was by the other users. Not suitable to small plots. Maybe this is the reason why they perceive that the smallholders will not adopt the mechanical paddy transplanter. But the issue is that they may have a very small land area. What if they are relatives that have plants who are staying on the same place? Maybe they could ask, maybe they could think of adopting this technology and using it because they are just in one family. Of course, the issue if they are not anymore their relatives or other families, then that would be different. And conditions that will ensure adoption. Of course, that will be the reverse of the constraints to adoption, like the unavailability of labor for transplanting. If it will persist, that there is migration or the farmers would ask for a higher wage, then it would ensure the adoption of the mechanical paddy transplanter, the availability of the service providers and reasonable price, available seeds, and the proper preparation of the field, leveled field, and good drainage. So the training needs preparation of the mat type nursery, and if you want a more detailed technical on the technical aspect of this preparation of the mat nursery, you could Google through the CISA, like this one, the CISA portal, wherein they have the non-till and unpadded mechanical transplanting of rice. Then the procedure, how they go about preparation of the seed bed, it's all in here. And also the machine operation. This picture is not in the village where we visited. So women are also trained how to operate, not actually operating it, but to involve them in the mechanical paddy transplanting. So instead of just one person, there are two women who are placing the seedlings at a proper place. I think this was in Kerala. Yeah. Of course, we would ask that who will initiate or handle the training or who will be trained. And I was informed that the mechanical paddy transplanter was initiated by CISA, and CISA has already trained men and women in preparation of the mat and also in the operation of the machine. And we also asked them, what could be the other strategies aside from training men and women? What could be the other strategies to motivate farmers to adopt or invest on machinery? Most of their responses could be the same, even if we ask them different questions, like the government subsidy. So they think that if there's a government subsidy for this mechanical paddy transplanter, then this would motivate them to adopt the machine. Demonstration field awareness program. So there should be a communication specialist to disseminate the advantages of using the mechanical paddy transplanter. So the training program and again the availability of the machine. So I think it's not only there should be like there's the service provider is there is always one service provider in every district where we visited. I think increasing the number of machines would motivate other farmers to adopt the mechanical paddy transplanter. Now, just to give you a background, these are now the data which we gathered from the farm household survey. Since there are those who stopped, so what we included only are the current adopters, which are 43 instead of 60, and we compared them with the non-users. In terms of caste, most of the non-adopters belong to the upper caste, while in the non-users, a majority of them, or 50%, are backward caste. And in the type of household, they are all mostly are on absolute nuclear. That is, the husband and wife and the children are living together with the parents, or just only them, or with the parents. So not like when we say joint, it's joint with two married sons in the house. We clarified this one in this issue with our collaborators, because here in the Philippines, when we have our if somebody aside from the family members are living is living in the house, then we call it extended. So, but in India, I think at least a parent, even if one parent is, I don't know, yeah, is living with a family, it's still considered as absolute nuclear. And for the farm category, well, we see that most of the non-users have small, marginal farm sizes, But there are also marginal farmers with marginal farm sizes in the current users. But what we can see is that, uh, but in smaller proportion compared to this one, and it is distributed to the small, medium, and the large farm. There are only very few large farmers in the villages. So these are who are the members. Just to introduce you, we have the child who are less than 15 years old, the young adults 15 to 24 years old, and the adults 25 to 65. But I was, and the elderly would be greater than 65. But I was informed that they are changing the elderly. I think they want to start. They are trying to start elderly at 57 years old. So the age and years in school of the farm households which we interviewed, I just want to show you that in the in the adults and the young the in the adults, so there is always this issue of aging farming households. But I think it's not yet that much old. And also in terms of education, there is already an improvement in education wherein the young adults, male and female, the gap between the male and female is very small to compared to the elderly and the adults. So in India, I think in the villages, maybe the whole India, I'm not so sure if this is also true for, yeah, because this is in the village area, that there is already an improvement in terms of educating the children. Health status, most of them are healthy, except for the elderly, which is understandable. And then the questions that we ask is that, are that's why do we have to ask them their health status? The question we want to know is, are they able to perform the strenuous farming activities, tedious and strenuous farming activities? In terms of years in farming, we also gathered that because we want to know that do they have enough farming experience to compare using the manual and mechanical transplanting. And for the there is a different, most of the male members in the family are doing farm work as compared to the female members. Yeah, because this one, we have here three sections. We have here the average mean years in farming of all the members, and this one is the mean years of members who are doing farming. And the difference, the smaller the difference, that shows that there are most of if the young adults are farming, most of the young, there's not much difference. Yeah, in terms of the number of young adults who are farming and the number of young adults who are not into farming. Income sources. Before it was all rice, but now also in India, it's only 23% and 20% for the current adopters and non-adopters, where rice contributes to their total household income. Of course, there is another, this item, the rental of machines, and these machines is not only the mechanical paddy transplanter, but also some farmers have already the harvesters, the combined harvesters, and other machines. And what we have to see also this is the high percentage of income source from services. We can say that the current user have diverse sources of income. And this one, aside from the social demographic, we had also some output input information. And in terms, you might notice that there is a decrease in the number of N. So the current users before was 43, now it is 34. And the non-users before were 60, but now they're 51. Because when we merge the variables, the files, we try to merge only households wherein they have all this information. Yeah, all of this information. So when we were merging it, those with incomplete information were deleted from the file. And in terms of yield, I think there's a significant difference. I just did some t-tests for the current users and non-users, and also for the area. Yeah, because the current users have this large farm area farmers. And in terms of labor days also, there was a decrease, a significant decrease in terms of labor days. And seeds here shows that there is a significant difference, and also in the use of pesticide. this one I think is the main findings in our study is we look at the changes in the labor in the labor in pulling of seedlings in crop establishment and hand weeding activities. So these are so it's not so clear. So these are non-users and users. So this one is the non-user and user two. Maybe I can just show you, I can just discuss with you this female hired labor. So, so the female family labor, they are not much into farming as compared to the female family labor. But what happened, hired labor, sorry, female hired labor. But what happened when the mechanical paddy transplanter was introduced is that aside from this one. Aside from transplanting, that is through gap filling, they are also engaged in hand weeding because one of the problems they face with the use of the mechanical paddy transplanter is the incidence of weeds in the field. This one is farm wages on specific activities. Why I'm showing this to you is because from the past literature, it was said that the adoption, one of the signals for the adoption of technology is also an increase in the farm wages. So I wasn't able to segregate it to male and female, but we have that data. So like pulling of seedlings, carrying of seedlings, transplanting. So these are all included in the crop establishment if we use the transplanting, the manual transplanting. And if we see that one pulling of seedlings is one of the highest, it has a very high wage rate, and also for transplanting. So this is manual transplanting. So that is maybe one signal why one reason why the manufacturers are eager to produce this mechanical paddy transplanter. But of course, it depends if the farmers will be able to use this one or to adapt this one. So yeah, that's what I just want to say. That I think the wage rates are signals to the adoption of mechanical.
Joyce, what are the maximum rate for pulling seedling transplantation?
Yeah, this one is
So high.
it's the contract.
Per hectare?
Per hectare.
Yeah, per hectare. No, I no, sorry. This is per day. So this is wage rate per day. Yeah. Yeah, I think I have to check on this. Maybe that's why it's pulling this much.
Yeah, so it's.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, actually, this is just very raw. I was just so excited to see this one, but actually, maybe that is why.
Even the minimum wage for harvesting is 1 rupee.
Yeah. Maybe I will check this. Yeah. I will check that one. Okay. So, some implications on the study that we conducted. So, we say that women who work as unpaid workers, so these are the family female members, are relieved of the drudgery in transplanting. While the women who are from small and marginal farm holdings who work as hired laborers in transplanting lost income and source of food.
But you just showed that there was decrease in labor for transplantation, but also increase in labor for treatment.
Excuse me?
You showed that for transplantation, high labor has gone down, female labor, but for weeding, high labor has gone up.
Yeah.
Are you sure that the net change is
Yeah, because I know. This one, I think it's the wording, but when they are doing transplanting, they are also paid in. They are also given this rice food, the paddy. So maybe it's not loss of income, but it's more of the source of food. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got.
They are paid in kind.
They are paid in kind, and sometimes the amount of paddy that they are paid in kind, they do not. They can also sell it, so as that would be their source of income, as well as food for food sources. Yeah. And then, like the technologies, so I will just read this one, some more notes or some implications of the study. Technologies have different effects on men and women. So technologies are not gender neutral. Based on gender divisions of labor and specific rights activities. Technologies have different effects on different social categories of women, so farming and landless households. So these are some gender implications. And most women from poor and low caste households are dependent on agricultural food. I think this is, Sonia, the one that I was referring to, because if they don't do transplanting anymore, then they will not be paid in paddy. So maybe it's just yeah. Then important. Maybe it's important for social scientists to anticipate the likely implications of the unintended negative consequences of labor displacing technologies. And there is a need to inform an alternative income sources, especially for the poor, such as the narega or the ration on like food and kerosene ration. And for research institutions to provide women access to agricultural trainings and information, agri-based enterprises, and business ventures. And maybe there could be some suggestions for further research because uh, this study is just a part of a study which we conducted for the gap, the one that Donald said that we just want to verify if women do have access to machines. And one of this was we want to see if they do use the mechanical paddy transplanter. And so we could conduct the widespread adoption of mechanical paddy transplanter, other machines such as drum seeder, which these are all other machines that are introduced by CISA in other countries to test them too. And also some implications on intra-household dynamics, changes in gender role, changes to access to resources or even to assets. And also to determine the impact of the adoption of agricultural machinery on livelihood, productivity, and welfare on men and women. And to determine, because we have used the SHS self-help group to determine whether self-help group, women's self-help group, can venture as service provider to mechanical paddy transplanter. Okay. So just to show you some picture, that's the mat. And then they transferred this into a small room while waiting for the season for planting. So that's the mat when it is sliced. And it's not really that heavy. It's just 2 kilos. So I tried holding it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tita Joyce, for the very nice presentation. And this is time we will entertain some questions. So, Sonia and Tita Lina.
Joyce, given your findings, if you have to give one recommendation to CISA with regards to the adoption of or the promotion of parents, what would be your recommendation?
Yeah, I think I still believe that in training who would be the operators and also for the preparation of the seedlings in math, women should always they should involve women because I like the
Is this socially desirable technology? Is this technology socially desirable?
socially desirable.
It's doing good to the society.
Yeah, I think so because I remember one of the advantages of using the mechanical paddy transplanter is the women who were already who are into manual transplanting wherein they have to be in the field like uh, with the heat of the sun and sometimes rain and this paddy fields full of chemicals, then it would I think if they use this mechanical paddy transplanter, then they won't have any problems with those kind of diseases, which is also which is in connection to those situations.
2 years ago.
Yeah, I think so.
Tita Lina?
So with the, if they use transplanter, there will be an increase in incidence of weeds,
Mhm.
and there's also higher
Mhm.
yield. So it will generate labor in weeding and harvesting.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's why there is an increase in hand weeding because of the presence of weeds. Yeah, I think.
And higher yields also, so they will earn more
Yeah, more
in
income
harvesting.
harvesting.
Okay.
Thanks very much, Joyce. You've got lots of very interesting data there. I've got a couple of comments to make. First one is, please put units with all your data.
Okay, yeah,
Is it
yeah.
per hectare, is it per person per hectare, or what? We really don't know what's going on if you don't have units there. Second one, well, there's a question. Sometimes people use mechanical transplanters in puddle soil, sometimes in soil that's not tilled at all, zero tillage, and sometimes in soil that's been cultivated but not puddled. Did you collect that information in your survey? Then I strongly suggest you go back and get that information. It will be available. People will know whether it's puddled or not. It will have a huge difference on lots of things. For example, in a puddled soil, it's very difficult to control the depths of the seedlings planted, and establishment is often worse. In non-puddled soil, the weed problem is likely to be worse. The cost of doing it's going to be very different depending on whether it's puddled or not. So I think you've got some really important information to collect there. And in relation to that, did you have some agronomist collaborators? Like, I don't like the idea of social scientists going off and doing surveys
Yeah.
on their own, just like maybe agronomists shouldn't go up and think that they know everything about cost-benefit analysis or whatever. Did you do it in a team? Because I really think that it's an important thing that should happen. The opportunities there in season, we've got all of the types of people, and so I really strongly.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we didn't work as in a team, so that's why maybe we even the other participants in this mechanical paddy transplanters, such as the users, the hired laborers, the landless hired laborers, we did not even consider them. So we were just we were just concentrating on these farm households. Yeah, but I think working together with in different fields, especially for this one, would
You're
be good.
multidisciplinary, across CISA's got all sorts of people in it, so it's better to combine forces.
Yeah, because this is just a very small, like it's just a part, like a sub research in a bigger research.
I think some.
Yeah, I think Lisa, that in response to your question, um, when social scientists go to the field with a scientist who is also a big advocate of a particular technology, then you actually get kind of a bias that he will push you to an area where the information is good, he will not allow you to have a randomization of sample. So some of these problems happen because this guy also gets their interest.
Yeah, the economist doesn't necessarily have to go to the field with them, but in the design of the survey and in just sort of discussing the technology and the interpretation of the results and like what I just identified then. You need to know how the soil was prepared.
Yeah.
It's pretty
I
cool.
agree with that. Okay, my question, Joyce, what's the driver of this adoption of mechanical transfer? Labor shortage?
Yeah.
But I read one article, one report came out yesterday saying that in India, last 30 years, the agricultural population has gone up by 50%. Absolute number. Now in China, 30%.
So it has increased.
US, which the agricultural population is going down. But if you look at developing countries, in percentage it could be going down, but in absolute number, they're going up. India is 50% higher than what they used to be 30 years ago.
Oh.
Why the labor crisis is so why did we talk about labor shortage so much? The land hasn't gone up, unfortunately.
is an economic shortage rather than physical shortage. I mean, the price of transplanting, when you compare it to the actual margin that the farmer's going to make, if he can plant 2 hectares in one day with 2 people or 3 people, compared to having it's about 200 man hours per hectare to plant 1 hectare, the saving there is probably enough to make it. It's not a physical shortage of labour, it's an economic shortage.
But if the physical shortage are there, then the wage rates will not go up. It has to be physical shortage which is driving.
I agree. Look at the prices that you have for transplanting. It's one of the highest costs you have in the whole system.
But adoption versus non-adoption cost wasn't different.
Well, I mean, the thing about this is you repeat. This has happened with every bit of mechanisation that's ever come into agriculture. We're just seeing the next bit of equipment come in. There was wherever you go in the world, when 4-wheel tractors came in, there was hesitation to go with them because there was no knowledge of how to use them. The services weren't there. They broke down regularly. They weren't efficient, etc., etc. It's not a new thing that's happening here. It's just a repeat of what's happened before with other technologies.
And with transplanting in other parts of the world, mechanical transplanting, I mean, that's how it's done in Japan.
But so you both are saying that it's happening because the knowledge wasn't there before. So they're knowing
Well, if the farmer's getting higher,
transplant right now.
if the farmer's getting higher yields, why wouldn't you take this?
But all the literature, well,
That your data shows.
That's another question. Is there high in the direct outcome of mechanical transplantation? Is this what they do?
Well, it shows your data.
Yeah, there was a significant difference, yeah.
But does the scientifically, is it scientifically
Maybe in just the sample that we had, but maybe I think there should be, because this was only for a small sample, so I think there should be a bigger one.
But why the cost of transplantation without machine are the same? Because the whole idea of using mechanized transplantation is to reduce the cost of production. But if it's the same, then what's
Which one?
The cost,
The cost.
so it's almost the same.
Yeah, yeah, because the one on the table, because we got that from the farm household survey, but that we did, but from the literature there is quite difference, but it's not, yeah, in reality in the village.
why do you think so? Because you don't understand it. Because that's the major argument.
If we didn't see the units on that, but if that's a per day basis, then it's 1 hectare for a human labour. It's 2 hectares, so it's half.
that wage rate is
Yeah, I don't know. First, I want to touch here. I think sometimes, even if you are talking about mechanization, cost may be very similar with the labors. Like in Malaysia, mechanical transplant, when we saw, and by hand, same cost. The thing is, they are not getting that labor at time when they need. So if you see this rent of that machine, it becomes higher. And when they bring these seedlings, that become higher. So I don't know what the particular case here, that's one I saw. Second, yeah, as Liz mentioned about these weeds, we have never heard that only this introduction of this machine will increase weed problem. It is not going to. And it is definitely because CISA people, they are trying this transplanting in non-puddle conditions or after dry cultivation. That increases weeds. So I think that's better if you can have those all day. Otherwise, this particular technology does not increase weeds.
The weeds, yeah. I think there were several who said that there was this. Maybe, yeah, we can just confirm it. Thank you.
Yeah, you mentioned that the transplanter was better for large and medium farms
Yeah,
and
that's
small.
what we said.
What's large, what medium, and small?
Okay, the large, it's more than 5 hectares, and the medium is from 3 to 4 hectares, and the small would be less than a hectare, or 1 hectare. Yeah, the marginal is less than a hectare.
And that's most of the farmers.
The marginal and small.
I have a question. Is it possible that the transplanter does not influence the effect on gender, but influence the effect on labor? And that when we look at laborers, most laborers are women. So does it influence really gender differences between men and women? Or does it influences labor or does it affect labor? So is it a gender issue, or is the issue that you go to?
Yeah, because for the manual transplanting, women are already involved there, so it's men and women. So it's better to introduce. I think we say that sometimes technologies are not gender neutral, because sometimes if this will be a technology that could displace the women, then it's not gender neutral. But I think for transplanter, it is it will not displace the female farmers, because if ever they would be trained and also training on this mat seeding or mat making, seedling mat making, or in the operation, I think they would be able, because they have knowledge on the transplanting activity.
Okay, can I just comment on fetal fertility? I agree with you that it's not really an issue. Even the places where men are doing the transplantation, they will be affected. And it's benefiting one group of women, even within the women group, there will be fertility. So it's like social issues, not really gender in this stage.
I'm not sure if I get the adoption rate right. But in terms of your methodology, it seems that you get an equal number of adopters and the non-users or non-adopters. Isn't that, there's already bias in terms of the results.
the number.
Because, it's not actually random something, you choose equal number of adopters and non-adopters and interview the people. So just the selection, but the number is equal. Then another thing is about this, the laborious nursery management. Isn't that for transplanting?
No,
The
in
cases
the mat. Yeah, I cannot tell you the exact steps, but they say that it's so laborious. Because they have to prepare they have a specific kind of soil, so like they have to sieve it, so something like that, before planting the seeds. And they have also this plastic, which they put on the field, wherein they put the soil and then the seeds.
Perhaps
So
in
it's
India,
a
because I think in ES, in Rice Survivor, they don't. I mean, they said that mat
Making mat-
transplanting is much easier.
Yeah, maybe it's easier if you transplant, but how to prepare the seedlings? That would be laborious.
I think that's increasing that increase in cost in mechanical transplanting, because you need skilled labor. It's not like common transplanting. It needs lots of
A lot of training.
knowledge.
I don't understand why you're saying if the number of samples for adopt or non-adopt the same,
That one.
then the
Yeah.
bias. So you have a random selection of
No, because if you
adopt
don't
and
have that, you don't, I mean, she hasn't mentioned the adoption rate. And when you have an equal number of adopters and non-adopters, it seems that at least you are hypothesizing that the adoption rate of the technology
I don't think so. I think you still can have equal number
Equal
of
numbers.
children, not bias.
It's still a random sample. The thing is, the problem is the selection bias is that the farmers that adopted on their own. It's not randomly selected. So that's the bias. So the t-test, all the t-test is not, it's meaningless anyway, actually.
It's not random.
So there's the selection problem that is sort of not randomly given as treatment. So it's not the random sampling per se.
Okay, so thank you very much, you guys, and thank you all for attending.
Sabi niya, matuwak lang. Ayan, ayan. Ano? Hindi tayo. Wala pang